Testing, testing, testing.
I sent it on the same email thread that we've been talking about.
Testing, testing.
Google instead of Zoom.
Testing, 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 testing. Testing, mic 2.
Audio out here is really quiet, but it looks like it's on visual. Yeah, he said I just. Do you have sound now? Do we have audio out? Okay.
Hello, testing, testing, testing.
Oh, but it is working. Okay. And it sounds fine. Okay, this is going to be the second microphone. A little quiet, I can fix that. Okay. Don't have it all the way up. Have it down a little bit, and then I'll get it right, and then if we need to, we can turn it.
How's it going?
The recording and audio visual is always the hardest part.
Yep, always. How are you?
Good. Thanks for coming out.
Yeah, no, excited.
Thank you, Jason.
I hope it goes well.
And then go ahead and turn your audio up, Jake, so you can hear.
Well, no, it's awesome.
Testing, testing.
Yeah, I'm going to adjust his audio levels down now.
Yeah, I might shoot a little personal today. That's my only worry. So, yeah. Over?
Okay.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
We're going to test that right now. We're going to get those audio levels so that they're correct right now.
Okay.
Okay, so you can see, right? Can you see them separately?
Test it, yeah.
Go ahead and separate them.
Testing, testing. Okay, Tom, go ahead and see.
Test 1, 2, test 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, we're going to go up on that.
Test, test, test.
1 second, Jake.
Test 1, 2.
Okay, you're good for a second, Tom. Here we go. Okay, one more time, Tom.
Test 1, 2, test 1, 2, 3, 4. Test, test, test. Talking, I'm talking, I'm talking, I'm talking. Good.
Okay, go ahead and say something kind of loud for a second.
Okay, now I'm going to say something loud, like this. Is that okay? That's all right?
Yeah.
Cool? Okay.
Does that sound good? Yeah.
We're checking it right now. Test 1, 2, 3. Okay. All right, we'll talk. Probably, this is probably the level. What's that?
So you're good, Tom.
I'm Tom. I'm here. I'm about to start the presentation here. If you can hear me, hopefully. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Test, test, test. Still talking. I'm singing. Okay. Okay.
Okay, we're just going to probably turn it up as we can on that.
Testing if this is going to pick up bad audio. For this. It's right here.
All right. Okay.
Oh, really? Oh, cool. Okay.
All right, everyone. Thanks for your patience there. A little bit of technical difficulties, but the team worked in real time and got it working, so we appreciate the help there. Before we get started, we don't need to introduce Tom again. We know who he is. Handsome fella. That's all that's required. My brother, my older brother. But I did want to say before we start, it is Daniela's birthday. So happy birthday, Daniela. And we sent out that email last week thanking Daniela and Brooke for that party, but thanks again for that. It was awesome. Your costumes were amazing. And so without further ado, I'm going to turn the time over to Tom, and we're excited about the training we have lined up today. So that's it.
Okay.
Over to you.
All right. Thank you. Good to say, look, right up front, I'm going to apologize. I'm not going to remember everybody's name. I don't remember last time I was here, if that was June or July, but I'm probably going to ask some names as we bounce around here a little bit. I apologize about that. That's one of the effects of crossing over the 50 line, I think. So, but it's awesome to be here. I appreciate the opportunity. The topic for today, you'll see I've got bright targets, clear paths. This is something that's been rolling through my mind the last couple of months. What it means is like when we move to performance, I think we need two things. We need really bright targets, meaning we need to be very clear on where we're going, where we're headed. I shaded that out a bit because we're not going to focus as much on that today. We're going to focus more on the idea of clear paths. And by that, what I mean is as we're headed towards whatever our goal is, whatever we're looking to accomplish, we need to not necessarily have a clear path from the outset, because that's life. We've got to kind of wander and find our way. But we need to be clearing the path as much as possible so that we have the best chance possible of successfully landing where we want to be. Okay, so that's kind of where this comes from. Now, as we jump into it, I'll frame this up again in just a minute, but I apologize if for some of you, you come to these types of things and as people get kind of personal, it gets uncomfortable. I'm going to get a little personal today, okay, about a few things. I didn't anticipate doing this, frankly. Like, it was yesterday, I was like, holy cow, the only way to be honest about some of this stuff is to share with you what's happening in my own head and in my own world around some of these ideas, okay? So as we step into that, just beware. I might get a little personal. I apologize if it's uncomfortable for any of you, but I'm hopeful actually that it also invites for all of us as we sit with this to actually look really introspectively for a little bit here about some stuff, okay? All right, first off, just to review and kind of refresh, this is what we talked about last time. We talked about performance from the perspective of 3 elements of performance. So alignment, are we a good fit? Do we have the skills, capabilities, experience, confidence to succeed in a role? Do we need some training? Do we need some additional support and help? That'd be a stretch alignment. Or are we just misaligned? Is it maybe just not a good fit given a role or a project that we're on? Where we really centered our conversation though was this impact piece. Are we working in a way that allows other people to get their work done more effectively because I'm part of the team? Or am I working in a way that everybody else's job is harder because I'm a part of that team? Okay, so that's where we really focused last time, was this impact piece. And then momentum, the idea, are we bringing the energy, are we bringing the engagement that we need to find success in this role? If you remember, I gave you these questions to kind of think and self-evaluate over the course of, looking at it every month or every quarter, whatever it is, to think about, like, where am I at? Like, how's performance showing up for me, okay? I'm not going to ask if anybody's actually looked at these since. My guess is, and this is historical, looking at, 10 years of work in this space, about 5% of people look at these things. They'll carry ideas, but they won't necessarily look at tools. Again, I'm going to encourage you to actually look at some tools at the end of today because I believe they are 100% worth it. And this is a pretty simple tool, just a self-reflection exercise, okay? But just look at those for a minute. I just want you to kind of ponder these questions. What aspects of this role feel most natural or energizing? Where are you feeling under-equipped or out of sync? What would it take to move from stretch to fit? Impact, who benefits most from your work? Where might friction exist? Who do you need to do a deep dive with to better understand your impact? If your teammates rated your presence in this role, what would they say? And then on momentum, are you showing up with the energy this role deserves? What's fueling or draining your motivation, and what habit, boundary, or change would unlock your best focus, okay? So just think about those for just a minute. And then I'm going to ask you to actually turn to somebody, okay? So just, if it's 3 of you, that's fine, but just have a conversation answering this. Where right now in your current work do you feel flow? Like things are just clicking, they're working. And then where do you feel friction? Okay, so just we're going to spend 4 minutes here. Just have a conversation with each other. What are you feeling? Like what feels like, hey, this is working right now, this feels really good, but where maybe you feeling some friction and places where maybe things could go better? Okay, go ahead, just have a conversation. 2, 3. Give everybody a chance to share something, have a voice. Okay, we'll go one more minute, and then we'll come back to the group. Okay. All right, so coming back to the group, sorry, I'm going to interrupt you here to come back to the group. Anybody willing to share, like what floated up? Did anybody share something that you're comfortable sharing? Like what's feeling like really good? What's feeling like, yeah, there's some friction there? Yeah.
Kelly and I talked, and we both
Oh, sorry, where is it? Right here? Okay, sorry. Yep, thanks, Jack.
Kelly and I talked, and we both agreed that when things are flowing, it's like between the client and Max Connect, it's a partnership. We're having good discussions, we're implementing good changes, and we're seeing good results. That's when it really flows. And then when it's just kind of like two silos of companies, and they're just telling us to do stuff, and then we go and do it, and then they say that we want something else. That's where like I get friction, just when it's not like a true partnership.
Awesome. What's the emotional difference in those two feelings? Is there one for you?
Yeah. I
What is
mean,
it?
like clients that I actually am involved with, like Crew Car Wash, for example. We have a great relationship with them. All of our meetings, it's a conversation. We're talking about new ideas. It's like fun, and I'm enjoying the process. And when then there's friction, it's just kind of like, oh, great, now I got to do this random task for this random client that they don't really care about the results. They just want to tell us to do something.
And does that then, do you think, show up in the work,
yeah,
in
for
the
sure.
connection with the client as well? Because they're likely feeling that as well.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Right? Awesome, thank you. Anybody else? Anything else? Oh, yeah, Kelly. Thanks.
So I was talking to Will, and I don't know how many of you know this, but Will just opened up. He got so emotional about this because it's so important
Feels
to him.
very on brand.
Yeah. Okay. So, in case you don't know, and in case you didn't see it, Will got really emotional when he was sharing how important this is to him. And no, it was awesome. But he was talking about like all the different stuff, like bouncing from task to task to task, and how like that's a friction point. That's stuff that we deal with. And it's like we have to have kind of ADD on some stuff when you're dealing with clients. And it's like, unfortunately, that part of the job kind of sucks. But when you can get in that flow state and really just kind of things are jiving between you and the clients, and it's just working well, then it's awesome.
Yeah, and it's interesting to me. So this idea of flow versus friction, it has an emotional component that shows up in the way that we do work as well, right? So there's this kind of back and forth. We can like accidentalize ourselves into flow, right? Like, oh yeah, no, we're just there. But I actually think that we can start to create a structure where we find that more often, even in challenging and difficult circumstances, okay? And that's frankly, like, that's what I want to talk about today. Like, how do we find that flow? Because there are real impediments to it. And so we're going to kind of dive into that a little bit here. To frame this up, though, again, going back to this idea of, we talked last time about impact, this performance or this element of performance called impact. The more I've thought about this, the more I think, like, so my time working with Arbinger, right? The Arbinger Institute, where a lot of what we talked about yesterday, it kind of spills forth from some of those ideas. Today, we're stepping away from that into a different space. But as I've tried to kind of bring my thoughts together, one thing that's really interesting is we see really, like, our clients at Arbinger see really fast effect from this impact piece. And I think it's because we're stepping over boundaries that we don't necessarily step over to gain understanding and connection with as much. So we'll see like really quick, fast improvement happen. Just as one example. So I've spent most of the last year actually working with a client on the East Coast. It's the nation's shipyard. They're the first naval shipyard that the colonies basically set up in Virginia. And it is now, I think it's the second largest naval shipyard that's part of the naval system, okay? And they brought us in because, frankly, they had not released a boat on time in over 12 years. Meaning, you've got nuclear-powered submarines, nuclear-powered carriers that are sitting in dock when the Navy needs them, right? So this is a readiness issue. It's also a budgetary issue, causes all sorts of problems. So they brought us in, and Arbinger wasn't the only solution, but these ideas were part of a massive solution where the last 2 boats have gone out on time. And they're like really stoked about that. They're really excited about that because it has a big, massive impact on all sorts of things. Naval readiness and budgetary issues, all those things, right? Really, when you look at it, really quick effect. So I think one way to think about this idea of impact, why? Like, why should I be having conversations with other teams? Why should I be having conversations with other people? It's because you can get to better really, really quickly, okay? Now that said, when I think about these other pieces, they're a little bit more tied to stuff that's within the boundary. So stuff that's about me, or stuff that's about our team, or stuff that's about our organization. We're talking about, when we talk about alignment and momentum, things that have to do with how am I growing, how am I progressing, how am I becoming better? How am I becoming a better fit for the role, for the job, for the organization? And how am I showing up in terms of the energy I'm bringing to it, the commitment I'm bringing to it, okay? So, longer term effect, and frankly, because of that too, it's actually like, it's fairly tricky. This part of it is not fairly tricky. I think it's really tricky. I read a statistic. Well, the first time I read it was like 6 months ago. It was brought back to my memory the last couple weeks as I've been preparing for this. And I didn't frankly believe the statistic, and probably for good reason, because I couldn't find the actual source of the statistic. The statistic was that they said in a recent study, 7 out of 8 patients with heart failure did not do the work that they were given to prolong their lives. 7 out of 8. Now, I didn't find that statistic. Here's the statistic I did find. This is from National Institutes of Health, that approximately half of the patients with heart failure do not follow treatment recommendations, okay? So these are folks that have all the motivation in the world to do better around their habits and the choices they're making for one more sunrise, one more sunset, one more birthday, one more day with family, friends, one more day on the golf course, whatever it is, one more day. All the motivation in the world. But there are impediments to progress. There are things that make it really, really hard, make it really, really tricky. And we're going to dive into that today. I don't know if any of you those online, I think, were given some of the materials we're going to jump into. But we're going to talk about values today. And this is AI's version of a unicorn dancing over a rainbow. Because I did that because I don't know if anybody gets that feeling. I for a long time have had that feeling, oh my gosh, we're going to talk about values. Are you kidding me? Like, why? I want to make it actually really practical. I hope you step away from this, you're like, oh, that was actually really interesting and really practical, okay? We're going to talk about values. First, though, I want to frame up. I want to do my best to pontificate for a minute. I may stumble through this, and I apologize if I do. Greg and I had talked about doing a follow-up to the last session, and I knew what I wanted to talk about. I knew basically, like, yeah, this I think would be really helpful for people. But frankly, for the last 2 weeks, I have been, not at panic level, but I've had like a level of anxiety. Like, how do I do this in a way that lands well, that makes sense? At least for me, if for nobody else. Like, that doesn't feel like I'm wasting y'all's time, okay? Now, these 2 hours away, just kind of stepping away from work and thinking about it from a higher level, that's just, I think, valuable in and of itself. But I'm hoping to bring something to this. I'm hoping to be helpful. I've been struggling about this, and between yesterday and today, it started to get clear to me how I'd like to frame this up. So about 4 years ago, I found a little bit more time in my schedule, which I know for most people is like, wow, lucky you. Like, how'd that happen? It just happened, right? I just had some more time in my schedule. And I decided that having been the most casual golfer the most casual golfer on the planet, I feel like, for most of my life, I wanted to actually see if I could get good at this game of golf. So I made a commitment, I started doing things, and it's actually become, Greg. Seth's my oldest son. Greg could attest this. My oldest son, Seth, could also attest to this. That it's become a little bit of an obsession for me. It's become a real passion thing for me around golf. But why it's become a passion thing for me is because I've started to see things in the game that show up for me not just on the course, they show up in life. Like how I show up in work is how I sometimes show up when stress happens on the course. I've just started to learn things. It's become this thing that has spilled all sorts of lessons for me. And I was listening this morning to a podcast. It was a golf podcast because the obsession spins into what I consume, right? And the golf podcast, they'd actually invited an angler on to talk about fishing and his experience in fishing and what he gets out of fishing. And it was almost like this match. So you had this golf podcaster talking to this angler, and they're talking about their experience on the river, on the course, and there are all of these very clear parallels in terms of what they're learning, not just about the activity or the pursuit, but what they're learning about themselves and how they're personally growing through this pursuit. And what became clear to me is if there's anything worth doing, if we choose to do things, it's worth doing it well. And if it's worth doing it well, it's worth actually taking the time to grow into it, to learn how to do it better, to show up better, almost for itself. Like we have the things that we're doing. I get on the golf course. Look, I can just go out and just swing and try to hit a ball, but I'm telling you, that's miserable. Any golfers in the room? A few, okay? It's miserable if all it is going up, swinging, and trying to hit the ball, because it so rarely happens that it works out well. So much of the experience is like, well, what can I learn from this? How can I grow around this? This guy was talking about fishing. It's the same. Not to get too deep here, but there's a relationship expert that my wife and I have kind of connected to, and her view is it's actually our deepest relationships that open up the opportunity for us to grow. Like the purpose, for instance, the purpose of marriage is to become a better person, and it turns out there's no better person to help you do that than your partner. Okay. I also believe that shows up at work. I think that's one of the invitations when we show up to work is to actually allow it to help us grow, to help us change, to help us improve in ways that are good for, certainly for all of us. As we all do that, it's good for all of us, but it's good for me as well. I become a better, different version of myself as I allow this pursuit. Again, you think about how many hours you spend doing this work and with each other. Frankly, in your waking lives, it's the majority of your hours, or close to the majority of your hours, which means it's worth showing up in a way that helps each other and helps us grow and become something, okay? So that's why. That's the why of what we're gonna talk about. It also spills into, I wanna show a clip of a movie, okay? Anybody familiar with the Wachowskis? Anybody know who the Wachowskis are? Okay. What do you know the Wachowskis from? The Matrix, right? Everybody's the Wachowskis from The Matrix. So guess what clip we're going to watch? Not The Matrix, all right? They have another movie, actually, but to me, it's thematically, it's very, very similar. They have a few movies, but the movie I'm gonna show you the clip of, I feel like one of the things that they try to portray in their movies is this idea of a person coming to a level of understanding, and what I would say integration, of understanding who they are in the context of the world that they're in, that they take on almost superhuman or supernatural capabilities, okay, to a certain extent. You think of the last scene of The Matrix, those of you who know The Matrix, what happens? He gets shot, right, but then he wakes up from that, and all of a sudden he has the ability to control all the world around him, right? This is similar-ish. This is from, I'm not kidding you guys, this is one of my, okay, I shouldn't say one of my favorite movies. I love this movie. This is Speed Racer. Anybody ever seen Speed Racer? Yeah, okay, a couple, all right. Okay, so this is a clip from Speed. Oh, I'm sorry, this is a Wachowski movie. I know, no, but it's so good. And look at the cast as you go through this, unbelievable cast, like really, really kind of crazy. Okay, let's do. So, yeah, please.
I just have a quick question. As you were talking about, you spend most of your waking.
Oh, sorry.
So I had a question. You're talking about we spend most of our waking hours at work, right? And we should show up and try to do our best. My mind also went to like your fiduciary duties that you have to your company. They pay you, they give you health care, they feed you for Max Connect.
Yeah.
How would you kind of like tie those two together? Because I think that there's like obviously we have a responsibility to our company, but also we should want to do the best. I just want to get your thoughts on that, I guess.
Yeah, do you have thoughts?
I mean, for me, the fiduciary duties takes precedence over if I want to do something or not.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Like the
Okay.
company's paying me to do a job. Whether I want to do it or not, it's my job. They're paying me.
Gotcha.
That's my responsibility.
Yeah.
I love my job and I love to do what I do,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know. Just my mind went to the fiduciary duties of like a fiscal responsibility and a desire.
Thank you. Yeah, no, look, and I apologize. I do not mean to say that showing up means like, no, you just do what you want. What I'm saying is when we show up to work and we have these things we need to get in, we have to get the things done. But there's a way to do those things in a way that helps us personally grow. And maybe in ways we never would have anticipated, never would have, kind of planned for. I'll be honest, really quick. I did not plan on sharing this. So I still suffer a little bit from this, and sometimes people who know me well will kind of see this show up, but I have to think about this for just a minute. About 18 years ago, I was phobic about speaking in public. Phobic, actually. Like I would throw up, like morning before I had to do something in front of people. Like it was really, really hard for me. Some things happened in my life where I was kind of forced to be in front of people. And over the course of about 2 years, it went from phobic to like, oh, I think I maybe even like this. And then I got into a career where I was required to do it in front of like 1,000 people at a time, right? Or 2,000 people at a time. And I wouldn't say like, I do enjoy it. I enjoy the connection more than just being in front of people. But what's so interesting is I think about my path, my career. I was kind of not forced because it's always a choice, but there were situations where it's like, hey, we need you to do this. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. But doing it allowed me to grow, like doing this. I'm choosing this. Like Greg gave me the invitation, the opportunity to be here, but I'm choosing to do this, frankly, because I now really enjoy something that I used to be phobic about. And I guess that's what I mean. Like we are required, asked to do things. And in that, there's an invitation to do it well or just be like, well, I don't care about that. And I'm not saying like, we don't say we don't care about it. We say, I need to do this for the sake of the organization, for the sake of my employment, right? Like I need to do this. I want to do it well. I want to show up better. I want to grow up into this. Does that make sense? Yeah. And I don't want to talk about the mic. Oh, sorry. I should just let you hold it. Sorry.
That totally does make sense. And what I was getting from that is there's always your fiduciary duties, right?
Yeah,
you have to
100%.
do the work, but you can find ways to do the work that's meaningful to you and that delivers the most impact to whoever's you're responsible to.
It helps you grow.
Yeah.
Helps you become more and better, right?
Yeah, no, that makes sense a lot.
Does that make sense? Awesome. Thank you, Jack. Okay, thank you. Awesome. Thank you for that. And I would say, kind of going along with this, so last time we were here, I think most of you that are here were here last time that I spoke. I don't know if you remember that we talked about my knee and the fact that my brother and his son saved my life because I got attacked by a stinking sea lion. You remember that? What's interesting is I look back on that. It's been 7 months now, which is interesting to think about. The pain, I was talking to a couple people, the pain in that is actually, that persisted through September. Basically like for 6 months, my knee was still sore. It's almost gone. There's like a tiny tinge of soreness on the deepest wound, like right there, but the rest of it's gone. What's really interesting though is that starting in July and going through August and part of September, it became this really hard emotional weight for me. And I would watch, I like golf. I'd watch golf, and if they were playing at a course that was by the sea, I had to turn off golf because every time they show the ocean, I would get nauseous and felt like I wanted to throw up, right? And in the end, I had to go get some professional help around that. And I've gotten that. I'm feeling much better about it. I'm actually, I'm not saying I'm excited to get in the ocean again, but I'm ready to try it and kind of see what happens. But I share that because of this. We don't always choose where we're at. We don't always choose our experiences. But I believe every experience, not that it's fated necessarily, but that there's an invitation in it. There's an invitation to show up to see, what are you going to do with it? What are you going to learn from it? What are you going to grow? And to a certain extent, I can say I'm actually grateful for that experience. One reason I'm grateful is because I love this guy right here. I do. I'm so grateful for him, so grateful for his son, so grateful for his family.
I'm not ready to get back in the ocean, by the way.
I don't know if I am either. I want to try it, right? But the other part is, I realize things about myself, anxieties that I carry that actually I'm convinced that situation, it bubbled up into the forefront that I had not dealt with in my life, that I had to kind of deal with in my life. So I'm grateful for that. It's an invitation to become something a little bit different, a little bit better, a little bit more. Thank you for that. Okay, let's get to the clip, all right? Sorry, that's when I say personal, that's one of the things. Like I can get emotional, I can be a crybaby and get a little bit personal about things, but let's watch this clip. This will take us firmly out of that space, all right? If I can get it going. Oh, actually, let me talk about this really quick. As we talk about today, I'm gonna show you this video. To me, it's really motivating, but what's the guy that came and spoke to you that is also the driver?
Ben Keating.
Ben Keating, okay. Sadly, I wasn't a part of this, I couldn't be part of the summit. I was on the road traveling when all that happened, and so I wasn't able to watch it even online or anything. I was bummed. So I understand it was pretty awesome. Some really cool things shared. My guess is that Ben, he would hope that whatever motivation he provided didn't just stay there as motivation. The motivation turned into some introspection that hopefully turned into some insight, and then importantly turned into some action. I'm gonna show this video, and for me it's really motivating, but the hope is that we take all of these motivations that exist in life and spin them eventually into action, okay? So I wanna talk about that, and then we'll watch the video and then jump into some exercises. Here we go.
Cannonball clearly using a spear hook. That could cost him the Hall of Fame.
Not to mention what it might do to Wilton Industries.
Shame on them.
No, don't do this! The triple phase conductor's fried.
Sparky, get me back in this race.
What is it? What's wrong?
The crash must have dislodged the main conductor.
Starter's overloaded.
Ambos coches están muertos.
The nickel hydrate cells are hemorrhaging. I've got dendrite readings everywhere.
What do I do?
Don't panic. Just listen, Speed. Just listen to her.
If I could defibrillate the...
Sparky, give me a second.
Is there anything he can do?
Made a patch to the starter, the Bernoulli converginator. If he puts the car in fifth gear, he can jumpstart the whole thing.
Would he know that? What's Sparky?
Come on, kid, move it!
He's gonna do it.
I don't know why I'm doing it anymore.
You don't climb into a T-180 to be a driver. You do it because you're driven.
Racing has nothing to do with cars or drivers. You ready to put away your toys and grow up? Are you ready to become a real race car driver?
Look at the split! He's shattering the lap record!
If you know so much, why don't you tell me why I should keep driving?
That's for you to figure out. I just hope when you do, that I'm there to see it.
When I watch you do some of the things you do, you just take my breath away.
Remember that night we sat together, we watched old Ben Burns' Stickleton? That night something just clicked.
Racing hasn't changed and it never will.
It doesn't matter if racing never changes. What matters is if we let racing change us.
What I'm gonna a T180. I don't know. Everything just makes sense.
No hesitation. Nothing phases him. No one seems capable of stopping him.
He's on a mission.
With a quarter lap to go, Speed Racer is back. 2 cars between him and destiny.
Here we go again.
All right. Okay. Look, I geek out over stuff like this. I think Greg also knows this. I'm a big fan of Bollywood movies, so that gives you any sort of sense of like my media choices. Like, there we go. All right. Idea here, though, is again this idea of integration. He shows up. He's got almost these superhuman abilities to do something. If you watch the video, there's of course a lot more to this. This is something that his family has wanted. His brother died in a crash trying to become the world champion, and he just became the world champion. Fulfilled a family dream, right? But the reality is, the whole movie, what it's actually about, it's about why he couldn't get here until this happened. It's about the impediments to that. It's about what's blocking. And that's what I want to jump into right now. Is like, where are we at? What are we targeting around? And what might be blocking our ability to actually get where we want to go? Okay. So we've got. We need to pass these out. All of them. Yeah. Well, yeah. Just one to pass. I think there's 3 there probably. Close to 3, and then pass them back behind you. Thank you. Yeah. Please. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Just do all of them right now.
No, just do one right now. Okay. We'll just do this one because we'll use this one for a few minutes before we jump into the next. So. Okay, so look, here's what we're going to do. First off, I want you to think about, when you think about your current goals, your objectives, the things that are important to you in your life, okay? I want this to center around, certainly work is going to be a part of this, but think of just generally in your life, like what's important to you. I just gave you a list of, you've got 2 sides of this. Look at the side that has all the values. There are 240 values there, okay? This is a prompt. It's not necessarily you have to pick from this. But as you go through this, I want you to try to identify up to about 10 values that are important to you. Okay, and then you can go ahead and write those on the back in the column labeled aspirational. Okay, so identify 8, I don't know, let's say 5 to 10 values that represent your current goals and aspirations. And if there's something that's like, this is it for me, but it's not on the list, that's great. That's ideal. What's important to you? Okay. So I'm going to give you just a few minutes here to establish what we call aspirational values, or things that are important to you. What represents?
Maybe hold one up with the remote. I did it on Zoom.
Oh, thank you.
Maybe explain a little.
I don't know how close I can get. Is that on the screen? Oh, well, that's fine. Where can I hold it? Just so they can see which sheet we're on. Okay.
I'm going to give you 2.
5 to 10. Yeah, well, and if it's not on the list, come up with your own. Like if there's one like this is important to me, but it's not on the list, that's actually ideal. So just what are 5 to 10 values that represent your current goals, personal aspirations, like what's important to you in your life? And I promise we're gonna be doing more than just this with this. Okay, once you've identified, you should be writing them on the back here in the aspirational column. You've got a rank column there. Do your best to rank those, but the most important aspect of this is identify your top 3, and ideally by 1, 2, 3. What's the most important? What feels like the biggest aspiration, the biggest goal, the biggest value that you have, number 2, and then number 3. And then you can rank the rest as well, but really just try to focus on what are your top 3, and then number them 1, 2, 3. How are we doing? Does everybody have at least kind of their top 3 identified? No, not yet. Okay, let's give another minute or 2 here. And I know this is unfair. I'm asking you to say, like, define what's important to me from a existential perspective and do it in 4.5 minutes. I know that's unfair. I apologize. And I would encourage you, part of the homework is dive deeper into this when we're done with the day. Like, really explore this a little bit more deeply, because I think there's some stuff to learn. Yeah, so once you have them identified, make sure you've got a list of at least the top 3 on the back side under the aspirational column. And you have your top 3 there. Okay, I'm going to give you 1 more minute to get as close as you can on those top 3, and then we're going to do something with it here for a minute. Okay. All right, here's what I want you to do. We're going to spend not a ton of time here, but I'm going to ask everybody to get up, okay? And we're going to share. And if you're online, just do this with, maybe chat with the group that you're online with. But I want you to get up, and I want you to share, if you're comfortable, share your top 3 values with other people and see if you can find anybody that has a little bit of alignment around, hey, yeah, we share 1 or 2. If you find if we find anybody that share all three of your top values, I want to hear that. That's amazing.
It'd be like winning the lottery.
Seriously, like that'd be remarkable. Okay, but let's get up and just share with each other. Like here are the top 3 values. Have a conversation about it if you like. You don't have to. I'd like for you to mingle and get as much information from each other as you can. See if you can find somebody that you match up with at some level. Let's move around if we can, too. Let's move. All right, so let's take the test. How many people found somebody they matched with at least one on? Okay, awesome. Was there commonality? Was there one that's like, hey, this is a pretty shared value across the group? What was it? Awesome.
I saw kindness a lot too.
Very cool. Okay, excellent. Okay, anybody match up with 2 values with anybody? Did we get to that level? No? Okay, and then certainly not 3. All right. Okay.
Did you guys have 2?
You guys had 2? Do you mind sharing what they are? Family and dependability. Awesome. Very cool. Okay, so dependability's in there. That's kind of cool. That is a just saying, in an organizational context, having dependability as kind of a shared value, that's pretty great. That's awesome. Fantastic. Now look, there's a couple of things around this, so I want to dive into a few ideas here. One is that given that, right, like we had some overlap, dependability feels like, hey, this is pretty close to almost an organizationally shared value. That's so good. That's fantastic. But there's also some challenge just in the reality that we had one pairing that had 2 and none that had 3. That's normal. It's not a problem, but there's an interesting challenge around this, okay? And it looks a little bit like this. There are a couple different types of what I'll call value collisions, okay? So one might look like this, value collision. This is Taylor's top 3, stability, community, respect. Riley's might be innovation, autonomy, and growth. The reality is these values show up most, and the priority of these values show up most as we're under stress. So if you think of these 2 individuals and they're under stress, maybe there's a project, maybe something's gone wrong, you know, in the team, the organization, how are they going to show up, right? Taylor is likely to show up in a way that maintains that stability. That's what we need. That is the highest, most important thing we need to Taylor, given the stress of the situation. For Riley, it would be, no, we need to innovate. We need to innovate our way out of this, okay? Now that's normal. These value collisions, they happen all the time. They happen every day. They happen in almost every conversation. That's not the problem. The problem is when it starts to look like this. When people hold different core values, they may interpret the same situation through different definitions of good. That my way of seeing it, my way of working it, is the good way of seeing it and working it. And your way is bad by definition. That's the problem, okay? So we have to be really careful about that. We're diving a little bit into this impact idea right now, right? Like when we talk about alignment, impact, and momentum, this is a little bit, for sure, there's some alignment piece here, but really what I'm talking about is understanding what are we aligned to? What are we bringing into the situation, and then having the understanding that other people are going to be bringing other things. Okay, so look, that's one type of a value collision. Here's the other, and this is interesting to me because you'll see this, I think you see this in organizations where they have established specific values, but maybe people are holding them differently, okay? So here you've got Alex and Jordan. Alex's top 3 values are integrity, collaboration, achievement. Jordan's top 3 values are integrity, collaboration, and achievement, but they're ordered differently. And again, when under stress, the order matters. The highest values take precedence. So in a situation like this, like you might have a situation where maybe a project is in trouble, right? Like, hey, we're not going to hit a deadline, whatever it is. Alex might show up saying, well, the most important thing is we deliver this right. And we have to hit every box, and therefore maybe put deadline at risk. Where Jordan may say, no, we have to hit the deadline and might cut a few corners, right? How we show up matters based on these priorities, these internally driven, value-based priorities, how they're going to show up, okay? Here, one thing to understand is shared values don't guarantee harmony, okay? All right, yeah, Jack, please.
Yeah, well, I'm just going to hold on to this, everybody. Well, I just wanted to link that because I had dependability 1, kindness is 2.
Yeah.
And so you mentioned that, like, for whichever guy it was, achievement was over integrity. Where they would sacrifice integrity to get the project finished.
Yeah.
I would sacrifice kindness to be dependable in a certain situation that requires it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I was just kind of linking the 2 together and putting.
No, and look, and it's what we're doing. Like what I'm hoping to expose right now. We're going to go 2 steps deeper into this, okay? But what I'm hoping to expose is, yeah, there you go, good job. is that that's at play, right? Like even things that we would say, all values look noble. And like, yeah, that's great, until we get under stress, and then we start making judgments around those values. And just understanding that that's happening is really, really important. And look, you're jumping forward a little bit on this, Because I want to start looking at like, we just did a frame around us as a team, us as an organization, us as a group, but this is happening internally as well for each one of us individually, okay? So I want to start to dive into specifically that, okay? One thing to understand around this, though, is like, how do we get over this? What do we do with it? Number one, I think it's important to just acknowledge that there are differences, okay? We just have to be aware and acknowledge, like, yeah, I might be showing up differently than you. And that doesn't mean that there's a good, bad thing at play here, just it's a different. We're showing up differently. Number two, it's really important actually to create shared principles. This is why, for instance, it's important for organizations and teams to establish shared visions, mission, values, like understand like, hey, here's what we're committing to as a team. These are the principles that we're going to use going forward. Understanding that we're all different people, but if we want to move this way together, we have to have some level of agreement and alignment around shared principles, okay? And then number three, and this is tricky. This is so tricky, but as much as we can, and this is where I personally, like around golf, have found a lot of value, is I'm learning to do this better, is to see tension as a signal, not a verdict. When I feel that tension there, just see it as, oh gosh, something's going on here, and understand what's going on. Rather than just saying, oh, this won't work, walking away, or you're wrong, I'm right, whatever. That's the problem. Not that there is friction, not that there is a challenge there. Does that make sense? Any thoughts, comments on that? Okay. Anyone? All right. Okay. Just a couple questions to kind of consider and think about from this perspective of value collision. When have I experienced a values difference, not just a personality difference? Which of my values might sometimes create friction for other people? And how could I turn that tension into balance instead of just this constant battle that sometimes happens, right? Okay. Okay, we're going to do something a little bit different now, and this is trickier. So I need everybody to take like 10 to 15 of these, which I've got plenty of these, so don't worry if don't count them. Just grab a kind of a stack of these. And I need everybody to have 10 to 15. Now, those of you online, what I'm doing is I'm handing out little note cards. You can just take a blank piece of paper, tear it up into 10 to 12 pieces. The form of it doesn't matter. It's just that we're going to do some recording for a minute here, okay? But I need everybody to have 10 to 15, maybe 20. And I have plenty extras. So if somebody needs extras, that's great. Just raise your hand. We'll get more to you, okay? We need more back here. And we still have a whole other stack here as well. Okay. All right, here's what I want you to do. Again, this is a little bit of a step into the deeper end of the pool around this idea of values. But I want you to don't think about values for a minute, okay? I want you to think about, what do you like to do? How do you spend your time? And these should be concrete actions or activities, okay? I'm going to do this because it'll be helpful as we talk through this for me to do it as well. But as a for instance, on my first one right here, it's going to be, I like to spend time with family, okay? Be it movies or going out to eat or whatever. Another one is golf. I really like golf. I really like reading, okay? And I'm gonna write a few more here. Just kind of think of things you like to do, okay? So between 5 and 15, concrete actions. When you are choosing to spend your time, when you're spending your time, how are you choosing to spend your time? What does that look like for you? And then write down one per card, okay? So write down one concrete action per card. 5 to 15-ish. really recently in terms of, well, in the last week I've done these types of things, but then think back like, okay, over the summer. What are the activities that you like to do in the summer? What are you excited about doing here as the winter months are approaching? Like, what are those activities? What are those concrete things that you like to participate in and to do? Okay, how are we doing? Do we feel empty on that? Feel like we recorded most things? Okay, all right, here's the next step. Here's what I want you to do. This part's a little bit tricky, okay? In fact, I'm going to pull up my notes over here to make sure I get this, say this right. Okay, so next to each action, okay, so on each one of your cards, I want you to write down an abstract word that captures the positive feeling you get while performing the action or activity. Choose a word that is as abstract as possible for that given activity. So for instance, if I have, like this is just the example I have here. If I have attend church is one of my activities, I could choose the abstract word of friendship, but a more abstract concept for me might be connection, okay? On mine here, I've got like, so these two, I've got golf, and I actually put multiple abstract words, okay? I like competition, like that's one thing I get from golf. I like the social, there's a social aspect to it and like connection. I actually like the learning aspect of playing golf. And then I love being on the course. There's an element of beauty. I love the beauty of being on really nice golf courses. It's really fun for me. The other one I have here is cook, and there's social, but then another one is I actually really like to serve others. Like I like to make food for other people that they enjoy. Like it gives me so much joy to see somebody taste something and be like, Tom, that's good. Like it's like really enjoyable for me, okay? So what are those abstract words for every activity? At least one, if not multiple words that connect for you in that activity. Does that make sense? Any questions? Okay. Yeah, it doesn't matter. You can write on the back or on the same, yeah, however you want. Whatever's going to be easiest for you. But on the same card, make sure you have either one word or if it's multiple abstract words per activity. And in fact, if you do have multiple words and you have multiple cards, you can actually just write the abstract words on multiple cards. They don't have to live on the same card. But. So again, write down an abstract word that captures the positive feeling you get when doing this action or activity. Okay. How are we feeling there? Have we captured most of that? Okay. Next step, here on 3. So take those abstract words. Most of us have a little bit of space. If you need to move to a place where there's a little bit more counter space, you can do that. But take those abstract words now and organize them into as few categories as you possibly can. So as for instance, like if I had love of learning on one and curiosity on another, I would probably just say, hey, that's kind of curiosity generally. Like love of learning, that's encompassed in curiosity. So try to get all of those categories you just wrote down to the fewest amount. In other words, try to find overlap. Where are you seeing the same value, as it were, popping up across these activities and abstract words? I see a few of you using the floor. That's awesome. This is a little bit tricky to try to get this organized. This is the only, not having desks, this is a non-ideal exercise for that, but do your best to organize those.
Take your boards that you wrote down in those cards and put it in the column too.
And you'll see, I see a few of you over here, again, you go to the values list on the back. The middle column, it says demonstrated. Once you identify these, write these now, what we call demonstrated values, into that middle column. Okay? So write those, kind of bolt categories. These should represent, and frankly, like these should feel kind of right. Like, yeah, that feels fairly right. Yeah. Yep. So try to combine as much as you can, and then that should spill out to now a value like curiosity. I'll read mine here in a minute and kind of. This is something that I
shouldn't match the aspirational ones, right? Theoretically.
We'll get to that.
Oh boy.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Yeah, you're always ahead. You're always 2 steps ahead, Jack.
That's my curiosity, number 6.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I know we're supposed to get the cards and we're supposed to kind of categorize these and different things, but I didn't understand what we did with this.
So you're gonna categorize like these abstract words.
Right. Some of these are the same.
Yeah. So you group those into as few categories as you possibly can, and then write those categories here.
Those ones.
Yeah.
The ones that you see recurring.
Yeah, see recurring, or that you can combine, right? Like for me, like I look at mine, a lot of mine, it's like, well, I enjoy learning, and I'm also curious. I tend to combine those just into curious. There's others, it's like, well, I feel a responsibility to other people, and I like to serve. I just categorize that under service, right? So yeah, just bringing those abstract words into as few categories as you can. So try to find overlap and combine those. What's that? There's definitely a competitiveness value in there, right? Oh. Okay. How are we doing? How are we feeling around this? Are we getting close to finding that overlap? And okay. Okay. Keep on, look, I'm going to suggest, like, keep on working on that. Like, do you have a question? No. Okay. Keep working on that. This is, again, part of the homework. Like, the deeper you dive, and we're going to go one more step in before I'm going to, like, go to what Jack was talking about and then spin this to our kind of a final activity and final thing we're going to look at, all right? But have that as best you can. You now have, on the back of the value sheet, you have your aspirational values and you have your demonstrated values. Jack asked the question, are they supposed to match? They aren't supposed to anything. They're just supposed to feel right to you. It's supposed to feel like, yeah, this is it. Like, this is what's important to me. This is how I'm spending my time, okay? A representation of how I'm spending my time, okay? All right, okay. All right, we're going to shift, all right? Last one. This one, I think usually this goes a little bit quicker, all right? But I want you to look at that values list again. Oh, really quickly, let me share this. This is an optional thing you can do. I was going to share this with you. So here are my demonstrated values, and this is pretty stable for me. So number 1 for me is exploring and learning. Number 2 is responsibility to others and service. Number 3 is agency. Number 4 is connecting. Number 5 is beauty. And number 6 is competing and succeeding, okay? An optional or kind of extra credit, one interesting thing to do around these, particularly these demonstrated values, because this is how we're spending our time, right? Like this represents like what we're actually doing, is to start thinking about, well, what are the strengths and the weaknesses of this? So as for instance, for me, in this exploring and learning, the strength is that I have a pretty deep curiosity and I'm very willing to like try new things, like change and try new things, very willing. And that has helped me. Like that is expressed in, I think, my career, certainly, like a lot of bouncing around my career. But the weakness is this, always bouncing and not going deep enough in the things that matter. Also not always understanding what matters because I want to move on to the next thing. That's a big weakness. And that's also very true for me. It's like, it's had a massive impact on my career as well. So some good, some success around that, but some weakness, some things that have caused me difficulty. In terms of my demonstrated values, that's I think usually my highest and is both a strength and a weakness, okay? So that's that kind of extra credit, something you can do later. Okay, again, so go to the values list again, and I want you to do something that it might be like really easy for some of you, and it might be really difficult for others of you. We're not going to share any of this. I just want you to kind of think about this. And I want you to think about given values, all right? So look at those list of values and identify 5 to 10 values that connect with memories of your family, the family you grew up in, or your experiences in high school or early adult years. Psychology shows this very clearly. Like, why do we tend to like the music that we were listening to in high school? It's because our brains were forming in such a way that we build really deep affinity and connection to that time of our life, okay? So I want you to think about the family you grew up in, the experiences around high school, early adulthood. What are the values that are recognizable for you from that period of your life, okay? Yeah, yep, and then you put those on the final column there. So this is given values. So look at those. Greg and I would likely, like if we did this, we would likely have some fairly similar given values because we grew up in the same home, same parents, right? So there'd probably be some similarities there. So we're going to give you a sheet, but maybe we don't need to hand these out. We can give them at the end because we don't actually have time to do this one right now. But here's a statement. So the battles, this goes to what Jack was talking about. This idea that, so the battles inside us, they don't usually like make noise, but they're not as visible to other people, but they shape everything we do. Meaning, there's a reality, like if we look at value collisions externally, like within a team, and hey, we've got shared values here, but not here, and under stress, how that might show up, it's happening inside of us, okay? Now here's my map. And this is the paper that we have over here. I would encourage you to go try this. This is when I talk about, I wasn't gonna share this, but I decided last night, like, no, I need to share this. Like, in order to be honest around this, you kind of need to see like how this kind of shows up for me. In terms of aspirational values, it's this: health and fitness, successful marriage, wealth and material success, learning, growth, spiritual practice, travel, seeking, experience seeking, knowledge creation, athletic achievement, and integrity. And then what I've done here is I've taken my demonstrated and my given values, and in this column here, reinforcing values. These are those elements of those given or demonstrated that actually help me on my aspirational value. The idea being like, the aspiration is what I want. That's what I want to be. It's what I want to become. It's how I want to grow. Which of my demonstrated, like how I'm spending my time, or what was kind of given to me through my childhood experiences, are helping me with that, reinforcing those desires. And you can see like some are bolded and a little bit bigger, and then some are smaller. This only makes sense to me. Okay, if you were to look at this, you'd be like, wait, I don't understand how this is mapped. It's because it's meaningful to me. All right? So I see like health and fitness, agency, like that's a reinforcing value. And competing and succeeding, that's a reinforcing value. Agency meaning like I like to make my own choices. And so I'm like, I made it a point. Like, I don't care how busy I am in the gym 5 days a week. Like, I don't care how, like, I need that, right? On the other side, hindering values, you'd say like, wait, family, frugality, comfort food, total, it makes sense, right? Frugality, what it means is like, I try to be fairly frugal. I see that as a given value kind of from our growing up and how we grew up. And what it means is like, yeah, I'd love to hire a personal trainer for $1,000 a month to get me in like tip-top shape, but I just can't do that. And then the family, the hindering value there is, I'm about to say something, I shouldn't say this. I go to the gym, and I go kind of different times. Usually in the morning. It's between 6 a.m. to about 11 a.m. That's when I go to the gym, sometime in that. I always see the exact same people at the gym no matter what time I'm going in. I swear there are people that go to the gym for like 5 or 6 hours a day, which is like, I'm like, wow, I can't do that, right? Partly the reason I can't do that is because like I can't give up that much time away from home or other things that I have, right? So that's a hindering value. Not that family's bad, and none of this is bad. There's no judgment in terms of good and bad around anything that we have written down here. The idea is those demonstrated values, given values, are they helping me or hurting me towards what I say that I want? And that's the important part. Getting clarity around that. And once we have clarity around that, we can then start to make some moves. We can start to say, well, I actually don't want frugality, for instance, as a weight around so many of the things that I find important. I need to be careful about that and find ways to appropriately navigate that as a given value. Does that make sense? Any thoughts, questions, anything here? Okay. I want to, in terms of like, how does this then look for us internally? You think back, it was acknowledge the differences, it was create shared principles, it was use tension as a signal, not a verdict. It's the same with us. As we start to notice the collision that's happening inside of us, like, why do I always struggle to do that? I say I want that, but why do I always struggle? We just have to acknowledge that there's an internal friction. There's something happening there, and it could be related to these value collisions. And then create principles for ourselves. Hey, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to, like, I'm heading down this road and I get distracted down that. I'm going to create a principle for myself. I'm going to give myself a gate. I'm going to ask myself some questions maybe. Like, before I do that, I'm going to ask myself some questions. Do I actually want that? Or do I want to keep headed down this road? So create principles for ourselves. And then again, let's just, like, we don't have to be hard on ourselves. Use that tension, use that friction just as a signal. Not as a verdict that we are a, terrible, broken, never figure this out person. We're not. We're just people, as it turns out. And navigating this can be sometimes a little bit tricky, okay? All right. Look, I want to use. We're going to go. This is our final thing, and then we'll finish here. I want to actually take this to the goal. I think Greg or somebody sent out a question, and I forgot I was going to put it on the slide, so I get this question right. Sent out a question for everybody to identify. Do you have that? Here's the.
Okay, here's the question. If you could become significantly better in just one aspect of your work, what would that be? Set aside your belief that this may or may not be possible, or whether you may have already tried to make progress in this area previously. So if you could become significantly better in just one aspect of your work, what would it be?
Okay. So what I want you to do is I want you to just think about that. You were given it. Maybe you have it identified. Let me just give you some kind of in the realm of types of things it might look like. All right. So maybe it's like I want to be a better listener. I want to get better at saying no. I want to get better at having difficult conversations. I want to be bolder. I want to be more receptive to new ideas. I want to start and finish projects sooner. Stop leaving things until the last minute. I want to be more focused on what I think and less on what others think. I want to eat more healthy, all right? So kind of in this range of things. It's a way like, if you could make one shift in the way that you show up at work, what would that look for you? And again, maybe something like, yeah, but I'm trying it, it doesn't work. I've given up, I'm not trying that anymore. Let's just play with it for a minute, okay? So think about that. That's first step is identify that thing and then write that in the first column of the sheet that you just got. So it says visible goal. And those of you online, this is the change immunity mapping sheet. And the first column is visible goal. What would make a difference for you? There are other ways to kind of think about this. One way is that it has to, look, number one, it has to be important to you. It's also really helpful if it's important to other people around you, okay? But what would make a difference for you? What improvement would make a difference? Another important thing here is frame it positively, okay? Don't frame it negatively. I wish I would stop doing this. It's like, no, I wish I were doing this. So make sure it's a positive frame around that goal. So rather than, I want to avoid getting angry when people challenge me, it could be, I want to respond with curiosity and respect when people challenge me. Okay, so look, I'm going to be reading some of this. This comes from, there's two researchers out of Harvard School of Education. This is some work that they've been doing for about the last 20 years. It's called Immunity to Change. If you geek out over that type of stuff, which I do, it's a great book, really, really interesting. So I'm going to be reading actually some of their language as I go through this to make sure that I target us in appropriately on some of this, okay? Next step here, the column 2, right here, is create a fearless inventory in the next column. Okay, so here's some thoughts around that. These items need to be as concrete as possible. If it's something abstract like I get impatient, ask yourself and explore with, well, what do I actually do or not do as a result of my impatience? The more items you enter, the more honest you are, the greater the eventual diagnostic power of this map will be. Tell on yourself. Nobody needs to see this. Listen, nobody will. Okay, we're not going to share this. Make sure everything you enter provides a picture of you working against rather than for your first column goal. Okay, so these are things that you do that keep you from doing your visible goal. Okay? And make sure everything you enter provides a picture of you working against rather than for your first column goal. We aren't looking for balance. We want the counterinsurgency items here. I like that line. Okay? And don't explain why you are doing these things or make a plan. We're not talking about solutions. Just list out. What are the things that you do that work against this goal that you have? Yeah. Yeah. Yes, because we're about to get to the more abstract, so make it as concrete as you possibly can. And these are the reason why you're not doing what's in column 1, or you struggle to accomplish what's in column 1. Okay. Now, really quick, you could keep working. This is, again, kind of going to this idea that I'm going to kind of open myself up a little bit. So I did this yesterday. I'm in the middle of like kind of putting the final touches on what we're going to talk about today. And I realized I had this like, not epiphany because I know it's there. Like, and I've known it's there for a while. But, you know, going back to this whole like golf thing and what I'm passionate, like what I want to do. So I left full-time employment a year ago. It was October 3rd of 2024. I left full-time employment and jumped out on my own and contracting back to the company that I was with. This is the Arbinger Institute. And then doing some other things. But it's all in service, actually, of something that I want to do. It's this golf brand idea thing, okay? That has to do a little bit with, you know, gear, but it also has massively to do with connecting golf to personal improvement and how we can use that as a frame and all that. Anyway. So I'm thinking about this yesterday, and I was like, wow, like, way to go, Tom. Here goes, you know, the hypocrite. This is the hypocrite, although I don't think it's hypocritical, it's just humanity. I realized, like, I'm a year into this now, and I have put almost no time into, this is my visible goal, create my own program. I want to create this, and then, importantly, get it in front of people. Like, start talking to people. Can I get into a conference or a convention? Can I get in front of people to talk about this idea of golf as a frame or personal performance as a frame for personal improvement? I'm not doing it. So what are the things that I'm not doing instead? I'm not creating the content I'd be delivering. I haven't. Like I started about a year ago and I got through about 5% of it. And then I was like, well, yeah, but I'm so busy. I got all these other things to do. And some of the other things, wasting time, watching news and movies. Not reaching out to people that could help me get on stage, avoiding networking in other groups, and then spending my time on more reasonable projects. More reasonable projects, right? So these are things that I am doing that are working against this goal that I have had. I mean, it's not just been a year, but I took an active step. I am stepping away from full-time employment so that I have time to work on this. And it's been a year, and I just really, like, I haven't. So, okay? So this is one way it might start to look, all right? Okay. All right, once we have that, the next question is, and this is almost even a little trickier. What did I just do with my paper? Okay. So now we're going to go to this column, hidden competing commitments. All right, but the first thing I want you to do is this. So when you think of everything that's happening in column 2 there, okay, when you look at all of those, if you imagine yourself trying to do the opposite of this, what is the most uncomfortable or worrisome or outright scary feeling that comes up for you? Okay, so if I were to do these things, what is the biggest fear that I have. And for me, it's right here. And then you write that in the worry box. And this, for me, it's that that it will become clear that I'm not that good or smart or up to doing something that feels cool and great. And it is, like, that is like my biggest, I am fearful of getting found out, okay? So for you, as you look at those doing, not doing, if you were to think about, well, what if I do those things? Or what if I do the opposite of those things? Is there something that scares you about that? And write that in worry box. And then anything else that spills from that. You should have a big one in the worry box, and then what else? For me, it looks a little bit like this. I want to continue to be well thought of and respected and not introduce anything that could damage my reputation. Not to have to take actual personal responsibility for what I'm teaching. There's actually a lot of comfort in teaching somebody else's stuff for me, because if it doesn't land, I could just be like, well, yeah, it's not my stuff anyway. But if I own it, I own it. That's really scary to me, okay? And then to enjoy life, like what if it doesn't work out? What if I spend all this time and it still doesn't work out? I'm fearful of like wasting that on other things that I could be doing. That makes sense. So these are some of my hidden competing commitments as I look at the doing, not doing column. So what are yours? What's your big worry? And then what are competing commitments that might be holding you back from your visible goal? Yeah. When you look what you have here, this is called change immunity mapping. Immunity to Change is the name of the book. What you have here is actually an immune system of sorts. Okay, what you have is your value system, your goals, how you spend your time, all these things that are actually fighting against something that is being introduced into the system. That thing that's being introduced is, I have this goal, I have this thing I want to do. But because of what we take into that, we have this natural change, immunity to change, okay? And so that's what you have here. It's a little bit like, some of the language that they use is, this is like putting on the gas while you have your foot on the brake. This is a commitment I have, and these are commitments that have me. And what's interesting is you might see in this, and I do, like I see in this elements of my like personal and professional success. Like a lot of what sits over here for me, it's like, well, yeah, but that's like a lot of that's what made me a really reliable. Like I think I was a pretty good hire for Artbinger, frankly. I did pretty well for them. And the reason I did is because a lot of what's sitting over there, okay? So it's not that these are bad things, but if they're working against a stated goal we have to understand that we have an immune system that is fighting against what we say we want. So again, this idea of clear paths, bright targets, clear paths. How do we start to clear the path? We start to see these things and understand like what might be happening, keeping me from doing what I know I should and need to do to get where I or we want to be. And then start removing those impediments in whatever way we can. Going back to this sheet. Oh, sorry, no. Sorry. This sheet. This can be a really helpful way to start to see that. Like, what do I want to, in terms of the hindering values, how do I need to mitigate or remove those things so that they aren't holding me back anymore? And start playing with that. With this immunity to change, the next step is, given this immune system, there are always big assumptions that are driving that immune system. So it's understanding, like, what are those big assumptions? What am I holding in here? What am I holding in here that's making this more of a chosen reality for myself than this? And for me here, here's some of my big assumptions. That the expert voices are just better and smarter than me, that my ideas aren't actually good, that I don't actually have anything original to say, so why even pretend? Right? So if I can start, the next step, and we're not going to do this, we don't have time. The next step for this is actually start to experiment around those big assumptions. Are there ways that I can test that? Are there small moves that I can make? Can I dip my toe in the pool to say, like, well, let me just play with this idea that my ideas aren't actually that good? Just get them out there. Start saying things and see if people respond to them positively or not. Just do it. Just get out there, right? So we start playing against these in a way and designing experiments to help us overcome these big assumptions. Okay? I'm just curious, how did that land? Like, was that helpful to kind of look at that goal from that perspective? Anybody willing to share an insight or anything that kind of bubbled up for you? No?
I'm still trying to like process things, but I think with me, it's like I look at what I want to do, and it's really even so much self-doubt.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I've had this conversation with people in the agency that have stepped into leadership roles, and they say, am I really up for this? Like, I feel like I'm an imposter. I feel like, really? Are people going to listen to me? Even as a CEO, right? I mean, I've been the CEO for 6+ years, and when the partners first asked me, I was like, oh, okay, well, I've led groups, I've led teams, I've led portions of companies, and I've never led the whole company, right? And so I think I had a lot of imposter syndrome, a lot of self-doubt back then. I'm 6 years in, and I'm looking at what I want to accomplish and the thing I really want to work towards, and it comes back to a lot of the same things. It's like, can I really do that? Am I going to be received in that way? Am I going to be received in the way that I need to be received, that I want to be received? And I even take it steps further, and I'm like, because how does that then affect my family? Right? If I can't do what I need to here, how does that affect my family? So I don't know if that quite makes sense, but that's really, to me, it's just like I'm going backwards now. I'm looking now, and I'm like, man, I'm dealing with a lot of the same stuff. Yeah. It's probably what a lot of us feel like. You know, if I'm sitting in that room and somebody looks at me and I know, I mean, geez, we put this whole team in front of people in situations that are pretty challenging, right? You're sitting in front of the CEO, the chairman of the board in some cases, and you're on the digital team, right? It's like you're sitting in big rooms. You're being asked to do a lot. So I guess it's okay that we feel that way. So for me, it's like, it's almost comes back to my number one value was courage. So a lot of times, I mean, you think about what's happened to us in October. Holy cow, Brendan calls me at midnight on a Saturday. He's like, what is going on? And I felt like, really, we just needed to have courage. We had no idea what was going to happen on Sunday morning, no idea what was going to happen on Monday. But the team came in and we all just had courage. And we just took that as a team and we just not knowing what the next step was going to be. There's all sorts of cloud or, smoke in the air. There's all sorts of dust that we can't really see what's happening, but man, it's just having that courage. And so for me, it's come back to kind of like, that was my number one value. And really for me to overcome it and break through what I need to break through, it comes back to that same value for me, which is courage. My number two was grit. I think that's probably because of what's happened in October. I just want to forget October, honestly. But courage and grit, I think, is what I've needed, and so that's what's kind of forefront in my mind, and that's what I need to continue to do, to break through these things and put my immune system to the side and be able to break through it. So that's my thought.
That's awesome. Thank you. Anybody else? Yeah, please. Oh, sorry, and then Brendan. Yeah, Brendan, then here.
Brendan. Here you go first, and then you can just hand it to me next.
No, my thought was just I like the exercise because it's funny how when you start writing out the big assumptions, how silly they can start to feel.
Yeah.
And how easy it is to see that those things shouldn't be stopping you. So I love the process just in opening your eyes to like, hey, the things that are holding you back seem silly and probably shouldn't be holding you back.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. You hand him the. Thank you, Brendan.
Yeah, I thought this was a cool exercise. I think reflecting and going through this framework, I realized that all of the accomplishments and big things that I've done in my life, they've always been, after I accomplish them, it's always been a surprise to me. Wow, I can't believe I did that. And it turns out that I'm the only one that doubted myself when everyone else in my life really said, yeah, I never doubted you for a second. Like, that just makes sense. And so I think, if you look at the hidden, what is it?
Competing commitments?
Yeah, the
hidden or competing commitments?
Exactly. If you look at in the worry box, it's like what you said, your foot is on the brake, and you've got this aspiration and you've got these goals, but how much easier would it be if we just let our foot off the brake? And it's like, it's almost ridiculous when you lay it out like this. Yeah. It's like, there's no reason that you should be holding yourself back the way you are, because no one else is holding you to that. So pretty interesting.
Yeah, and look, that is the point of all of this, is like, we have these things that we know we need to do. Like, that's amazing to me. Like, your top two values are that and how they connect with what you're going on. The issue is what's holding us. It's the clear path aspect. What's holding us back? That is, if we expose ourselves to the truth of that, we can be like, oh, that's just dumb. I don't want to do that anymore, right? Awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Any other thoughts, comments? Okay. Look, I want to finish with, these are other examples of other people's maps. We won't go through those. But when we just think about this idea of going back to creating flow, like what helps us get to that point where we're just on the gas now, we're not on the brake now. It is a combination, and it's because it's a combination of all three of these things. We can't just say, well, this is most important, that's most important. It's actually all important. We have to make sure that we have that alignment, that we have the skills that are required, that we have the experience, the confidence in ourselves to do these things, that we are seeking to have a positive impact on those around us, that we're checking in, that we're understanding, like, hey, is this showing up or not showing up? And then that we're putting in the energy and the effort. Yeah, please.
I think something that helps people get into that diagram you've got up there, that create that flow.
Yeah.
I heard a podcast from Mel Robbins recently, and she said so many people are spinning around almost like a tornado, these worries around their mind. What if this happens? What if that happens? What if that doesn't work? What if? And that's all that they think of. And then she stopped and said, put all of that to the left and ask yourself, what if it all worked out? And go into each day, each project, each meeting with, what if it all works out? And it's a total mind shift as to problem solving, as to your capability and tapping into others as well. And I think if you can start out any project, campaign, whatever it may be, idea with, what if it all worked out? Because I'm sure that, Greg today would maybe like to talk to Greg from 6 years ago, go, hey, this is going to be great, dive in. But you almost have to channel that future like superhero self of yours to then kind of say, yeah, I know I can do that. that's
Yeah.
totally on course.
Thank you for that. And I will, and Greg, I'll ask you this actually. I didn't prime this, but, and I don't know exactly the right way to frame this because I didn't think about asking this, but you know, given that and given the 6 years, right? Like the 6 years is a frame. Are you happy with the person you are today versus the person you were 6 years ago?
Yeah.
Are you grateful for the growth?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and I think it's like people would ask me, "Hey, how's it going?" And I think, you know, 3 months in, I was probably like, "Oh, it's it's going," you know. and 2 years in, I was like, you know, it's going great. And then I would talk to people, and they would say, like, I didn't have aspirations to be a CEO, right? I joined Max Connect because I wanted to stop managing people, right?
Do we all remember what Greg said he wanted to be last time we were together? What his actual aspiration as a high schooler was? Does anybody remember?
Remember that?
Firefighter.
Right. So I joined Max Connect, and many of you know this story, but I joined Max Connect because I just wanted to take care of my own family. I've been working a lot, you know, helping a lot of people along the way, managing teams and managing companies, and I'm like, okay, it's exhausting. And here I am again. Right? They say, okay, you want to be the general sales manager. I'm like, oh, really? And then 9 months later, hey, will you be the CEO? Oh, really? You know, but I love it, right? And I think that's what I've learned. I actually love it, and I love it because it's Max Connect. I don't think I would love it if it was just any old company. I love it because it's Max Connect. And I feel like, I mean, I've been thinking a lot about this as we think, you know, I've been here 7 years now. Me, Peyton, and Landon were within a month of each other, or something like that. We were employees like, what, 21, 22, 23. And here we are, this company of 60. And to see the growth that has happened with all of us, and to see the growth that has happened with the company is remarkable. And I don't look at that as like, oh, I was the CEO because, and we were able to do that. It's more like, man, we're so lucky to have this team that got us to where we are. And so for me, that's part of maybe why I'm thinking like, you could probably do this without me, right? That's the self-doubt. You could probably have a different leader, and you'd be just where you were, right? And I think that's the self-talk that comes in, and that's the self-talk that, no, I got to be good to myself too, right? And I got to be good, and I need to be good to ourselves and recognize that, no, we are all part of the machine. We're all part of what's made this successful as a company. So yeah, super proud of where I am 6 years later, and I think, you know, the next 6 years hopefully will be just as, maybe not as hard as October was, but
no more October 25. Yeah, but just this idea of like, I love this idea of like looking back, looking forward. What does our, whatever that frame is, next 3 years? You look back 3 years, you've been here for 3.5 years, right? What could the next 3.5 years look like? What would you like it to look like? What's your aspiration? And then going to this demonstrated and given values, this idea of our immunity to change, like all of that, what might that mean in terms of keeping us from where we would really love to be, whatever our frame is? 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is, okay? Look, I want to finish really quick. This is not as long, but this is maybe a bit more palatable example of the first video clip we watched. Just the end of a movie that just recently came out that I think most of us like.
Do they have the car?
We have the driver.
What's happening? He's flying.
Sonny, you did it! We won!
again, motivation can only go so far. Motivation, introspection, hopefully insight, and then action. If you remember in the movie here, at one point he's asked, like, why are you still racing? Like, why are you still doing this? And he explains the experience, what he's chasing, what he's seeking, and that's what he was chasing, right? This idea of flow, of being so perfectly connected that everything works out. I've never experienced that in a car, okay? I haven't. I'm not a racer. I haven't never been in a car that's fast enough, I think, to generate that. But I've experienced it. I've experienced it in my work. I've experienced it in personal experiences and relationships. I've experienced it in other areas, like passion pursuits as well, where I have felt more completely like me and whole and integrated. And that's the goal around all this. Honestly, like, look, we spent 2 hours, basically 2 hours doing that. I hope you found it valuable. I hope what you take from it is maybe an exploration. Just think through this. Like, what is it? What's important to you? How's that showing up? What are other experiences and helpers or hinderers that you're carrying into that? And then how does that show up for you all, right? Again, staying connected to that impact as well, okay? So look, thanks for your time. It was fun. So, and thank you, Greg, for letting me be here. Thanks.
Okay, I thought the last clip was going to be that we're going to have to watch the rest of Speed Racer. So I'm not quite there. Maybe Tom will convince me over the Thanksgiving holiday to watch it or something. But anyway, thanks again, Tom, for coming. We appreciate it. One of our goals this year, and as we're kind of making plans for 2026, and we're looking at, kind of our key initiatives and goals, we recognize, Brendan and Phil and I have been talking a lot about this, like we recognize that we weren't that good at coming back and kind of telling you how we were making progress against those goals. We had hoped to have 4 trainings this year. We've only had 2 company-wide, but we have done a couple other trainings. Like we had a really great videographer come in and do a training for the video team, for the creative team last week, and we have one other kind of thing planned for this year. So we didn't quite hit the goal as much as we wanted to, but I feel really good about us being able to take the time. I appreciate everybody actually making time in their schedules to be here. I know it's obviously really difficult, especially we're still kind of recovering from what happened with our clients with Google and everything as well. So thanks for making the time and making it a priority, and thanks for being here. So with that, we do have lunch coming in around noon. It's Zupa's. Yep, it's Zupa's, so we can grab a pack and eat when it comes, and so you'll maybe hear that when it's happening. But again, thank you, and thanks to our remote team. We had 8 to 10 people who had joined remote and participated as well, and thanks to the video team and to Jason for coming in and getting this set up, and in a pinch, getting it done in a hurry there right before. So thanks for all the efforts here, and that's it. Thanks, Max Connect.